If you wanted to, talk conspiracies about Jeff and being at that hotel room after Barry, that might have been to extend an alibi, sure, because superficially maybe they could look similar, although Jeff is covered in quite noticeable tattoos. Particularly, he's got some wings on the top right of the top of his right wrist, and he's got script on his left arm with other imagery. And he's not as clean cut as Barry, and he's got quite different bone structure, different flesh. If you don't sort of have an eye, if you're not sort of using an eye looking at human bodies, like if you're not sort of, not everyone has that same eye. Maybe you are good at it if you're into fashion or something like that, to see bone structure, to see flesh. But, superficially a description might be, 5'10", blonde hair, quite muscly, workman style, and sure. So, okay, conspiracy wise, was Jeff supposed to be there to extend the idea that Barry was still at the hotel whilst he went off and did some hiding of Suzanne. So when did Jeff arrive? When did actually Barry leave? Because that's the GPS data you really want, isn't it? Where did he go after the hotel and before getting back to Maysville? That really interests me. Did he just leave in a hurry? He's left all his paperwork, which, by the way, he's got legal right to be having. He's taking care of some things, and he's probably working on that paperwork, maybe making some calls, who knows. But yeah, I guess that's what law enforcement will have found out is, okay, so Jeff, maybe was he called at 10, he arrives at 3, Barry had already left at 3, so he gets back at 6. Well, that makes sense. And what did Barry mean by 9 o'clock at the site where the bicycle may have been? Well, did he mean that I got back to Maysville at 6 but I came to this bike site at 9? Was that just what he was meaning? It's very easy to say things, so we just don't know. But yeah, it would be curious to know, okay, where did Barry go after he left that hotel? And that'll be what FBI have on record through data. Perhaps this is what doesn't match up, and it's nothing to do with the bobcat. It would look nasty. I don't think with Jeff being in this room that there has been any affair carried on in this particular room. We don't know if one room was booked, 2 rooms were booked. That's possible. Maybe there's another room at the hotel booked under a pseudonym, under another young lady's name perhaps. So that would be interesting. A la Laurie Vallow and Apartment 107, and having different people's names legally on leases and things like that, who's using what apartment when, kind of thing. So Jeff is called, he goes to the apartment, or the suite rather, the room, the cheap hotel room, the cheapest hotel room. It's probably quite a nice, reasonable hotel, mid-budget. Why be extravagant? And from what I can gather, it's not too far from where this job site apparently was. It's in the next suburb. I might be wrong, of course. So, why would you leave your paperwork there, set up all the towels and things like that? there's better ways to do it. The alibi might be just getting Jeff there so that it looks like Barry is on site. But I mean, you just got to think, he's not an idiot, is he? Like, he knows motels have car parks and there's surveillance and things like that, and it's not like he wouldn't have thought of that, surely. So, working out the whys and wheres and everything. I mean, it is fascinating because, it could be, there's lots of different ways to look at it, right? Barry could be guilty of several things, or he could be guilty of nothing, or he could be guilty of one or two things, but not the main event. See this dog here? That's an Australian Shepherd. They're really, really beautiful. He's a tricolour with the black, the merle and the white. Actually, and he's got tan too. Really gorgeous. So probably got some border collie. I can't remember what they're made of out of the which sheepdogs. But he's come out. He's got his little back gate here of his home. I'm just waving to the neighbours, and he's popped out and said hello to my dog. Yes, so come along, darling. I think there are some genes involved in cattle dogs and Australian sheepdogs. They're sort of more closely cousins, or more closely, related. Anyway, well, I might have to redo this, I'm not sure. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? But yeah, look, I think, searching around Denver is definitely a good idea. And on the way, anywhere in between. I had thought possibly routes off a mountain would be to go, even deeper west first. But certainly, let's just say, as dark as it is, Suzanne was taken off the mountain, dead or alive, with Barry. If he had committed a crime in that hotel room, wouldn't we know about it? I mean, he can be placed there. If there was a crime scene with blood, etc., etc., wouldn't that just say, arrest me now? He wasn't arrested. And the FBI must have known this for a very long time, since May, okay? It's just that we're hearing about it now, so it's a little bit confusing. You get your timelines all, it feels so immediate and so today. But don't forget, this wasn't today, this was back in May, and this was before swimming pools were officially told to be ideally closed down, not used due to COVID-19 regulations. So, it's possible people have a swim. And also, people jump in pools anyway. We're not all rule followers all the time, are we? So yeah, I think searching not in Maysville, well, obviously just extending it well beyond. Come this way, honey. Into Denver and maybe beyond, but all around within the hills there seems like a good idea, doesn't it? But don't you think, just don't you think, where are the smoke and mirrors then? Where are the truth and the lies? What is being hidden here? Simply an affair? No affair? The fact that something has happened days before, that someone is helping someone else, that someone is frightened for someone they love. We don't know. Maybe the girls are talking to the FBI about Barry. Maybe they are doing that, and they just don't want to risk not getting justice. I don't think so. I don't know. I just feel like they're big girls. They're grown women. At 16, young women these days are quite sophisticated, quite mature and capable of reaching out. So yeah, it's you know, so complex, because where information comes from, even though, look, it might be correct, it's going around that certain bits of information are coming out of all these different mouths, and it's just not true, and it's important to know where. Now, it's not to say that every single thing that Andy has said is true. I mean, you know, we don't have reason to doubt it, but it's important that if we'll find a oh, you want that drunk there, do you, darling? It's important that rather than did Barry tell Lauren Schaff, or rather than did Barry tell Tyson Draper about leaving at 5 a.m, it's important that we know that this is something that Andy said Barry has told him. Just say it. It takes 3 seconds to make a complete sentence along those lines, and it helps people put things together. Who said what when? Because when Barry has been saying things is certainly important, isn't it? So there we have a Kelpie and a chocolate lab, and here we have a greyhound and a red dog. So that looks like a huge red cattle dog, so I'd say he's got something else in him. And then we've got a little nincompoop. Come on, honey. Puppies. Oh, we've got a greyhound that's doing little barkies. Wow, you don't often see them being little guard dogs, but see, dogs learn off the dog that they're with. So, I'm still talking. Jeff's at the hotel. He's not sure what's going on. He's there a couple of days. Well, I think it's the case that the Salida side already had works booked, so maybe Barry could get on with that, but he really didn't know what was happening, if he would get back into Denver. It probably became a very low priority. And he's done the right thing, he's paid Jeff. So, you know, yes, we can speculate. Was Jeff sent there to be an alibi and it just didn't quite work out timing-wise for Baz? Or was this genuine? Was there another room that was going to be booked for another work guy who just wasn't going to arrive as early? I don't know why Barry asked Jeff to get there at that time. None of us know, except Jeff and Barry and maybe the FBI. Yeah. Leave it to law enforcement, a lot of it, because this really is, it's like I can't decide what it's like. It's really like being in a tumble dryer, isn't it, with rocks. And we're going round and round and smashing against things and smashing against each other as well. And it would be terrible to feel a cleave in our true crime community, wouldn't it? Yeah, so mini schnauzer. Oh, so butchy. So butchy today. Come on, let's go, darling. Got the real schnauzer clip there. Yeah, so yeah, it'd be a shame. You know, I'm already feeling really fatigued from it. I can only imagine what the families are feeling, what law enforcement are feeling about it, because this is a lot of pressure for law enforcement. So yeah, number one, let's not forget that law enforcement have been to a lot of sites. They've spoken to a lot of people. They've gathered a lot of facts. Anything we think we can think of, surely they can think of as well. But yeah, I mean, that is queer, I guess. but you know, I think maybe he would have been calling Jeff in. They would have been collaborating about the job. Maybe Jeff was going to be foreman on site because Barry was not really going to be staying in Denver doing that work. He was going to be in Slider because there was other work on that he was, you know, probably overseeing, I believe. And you know, so sometimes, you know, things aren't really as strange as they seem. It's just that now that a woman, Suzanne Morphew, is missing and circumstances are very confusing, that everything starts seeming very sinister. I truly hope that, you know, and I've said this already, but I'll just repeat myself because I think it's important. I truly hope that if Barry has been responsible for Suzanne's disappearance, for Suzanne's death, you know, it's no way to try and live your life. And I just hope he just snaps out of it and lets people know where she is. It's no way to live. It's no way to have relationships with your family and friends for the rest of your life. It does look grim, but people, you know, let's not forget, Barry is not necessarily guilty either. Now, I'm not saying I believe in innocence or guilt. I've got an open mind, and it might sound like I am not supportive of the Mormon family. That's not the case either. I think that we're treating people like saints and sinners, and everybody in life, we never always do the right thing. We don't always support friends and family the way we should. We don't always keep in touch the way we should. We're all fallible. None of us operate our lives perfectly. We always can do better. We've always got regrets. And no one is perfect. We don't know how Suzanne felt. It is true that she may have wanted to leave that, darling. She may have wanted to leave Colorado. She may not have wanted to go there. She may have wanted to go back and live in her Indiana home. When did that sale start going through? She may have been happy there and we just don't know it. There's a lot of guesswork, and you know, oh gosh, you know, I really hope that she was happy there, and that she, you know, because my fear is that Suzanne was a woman that was living with great uncertainty and happiness, and was troubled about decisions she was going to make. I mean, I just think that is awful. And then for the outcome, for her to not only just not be able to make some resolution, make a decision and forge ahead, but to have her life ended, and possibly in a brutal way, it's devastating. It's devastating. So yeah, there ends the sermon. It was quite enough, wasn't it? I am sorry for going on so long. Thank you again for listening. I hope that it really is clear what my stance on things is, or I hope people do understand me. I often feel that they really don't, and I mean, that's okay, and that's a problem that I must have with communication. I'm trying to get better at it, and particularly it's important because I am very vocal about holding other people to certain standards, and yet I know how difficult it is to communicate with great clarity 100% of the time. But you know, it's super important. But I hope you understand what I'm saying when I'm saying these things. I hope you understand where I'm coming from when I'm thinking about these things, when it might seem that I'm playing devil's advocate or sticking up for someone or going against grain or being too bold. Yeah, I hope you realise where my heart is, where my mind is. And anyway, thanks for listening.